It's okay that you're not okay. Actually, what a bunch of horsepucky. It's not okay that you're not okay. I'm not okay, and that's not okay. We need to come together and lift each other up and help each other move through these difficult times that we're dealing with and find ways to be okay again. Welcome to my new channel, The Grieving Mom's Guide to Life. My name is Susan Fahidi, and I am a grieving mom. I am also a mindfulness life coach, and I'm also a grief advocate. And that's what this channel is going to be about, creating a space for advocacy for parents who are going through child loss grief, but also to create a safe place to go, a place where we can talk about the unique life that is created. You know, some people call it a club. I don't really like that word, and maybe as we journey through, we can come up with new verbiage within our grief, because there are things like it's okay, it's not okay, it's a club. Well, it's not a club. It's an anniversary of the death. Well, anniversary is celebratory. Actually, I do have verbiage for that one. I call it a death day. I think we have a birthday and we have a death day. And to me, that's just much more descriptive and doesn't create any fluff around it, because there is nothing fluffy and fuzzy and pretty about it. I want to create a place where grieving parents can come and express the reality of what living with child loss is like. And child loss, whether you lost your child during pregnancy, or whether your child didn't take a breath, or whether your child lived to be 50 years old, it's child loss. And I want you to feel safe here, and I want you to also be able to express the reality of what life is like with child loss. And that's what I'm going to do. My point of view is that I am a grieving mother. I'm not a grieving father. I am a grieving mother. I've never had a miscarriage. I did not lose a child in infancy or early childhood. My children lived adulthood, and my children also gave me grandchildren. So that is my perspective of where I'm coming from. You're welcome to share in the comments, and I will share them on future videos of what your perspective is, and you know how it may vary slightly from mine. I do have, I'll say, a slight understanding. In 2010, my son Brandon, who is deceased, his son Malachi died at 30 weeks in utero. So he was stillborn, and he wasn't my child, but I did live through that with my son and his wife at the time, and he was my grandson. So not from a parent's perspective of that type of loss, but from a grandparent's perspective of that type of loss, which is, I think it's similar but not as in depth, shall we say. So here it is. I've never seen anything like this on YouTube. I've never seen anything like this on Facebook or social media. And I want this to be a place for us. We can talk about what it's like in our employment. Yeah, I was fired for grieving, and I know other people that were fired for grieving. That has to change. That really has to change. And we'll talk about employment laws and your bereavement rights. Another perspective is that I do live in Canada. I'm in the province of Ontario, and the province of Ontario only gives you 2 days bereavement. Your employer maybe give you more, but you only have the legal right to 2, regardless of who's deceased. And that's in a calendar year, and they are unpaid, which, you know, is another thing. But two bereavement days. Your child dies, two. And they lump your child loss bereavement in with your grandparents' loss. Now, I'm not saying that losing your grandparent is not a terrible thing. I've lost all of my grandparents are deceased, and that was very, very difficult. But, you know, by 1,000,000%, losing my children was much, much more difficult. And it's been 6 years since my son died, and 3 years since my daughter died, and you know, I struggle on a daily basis. My grandparents died 20 years ago, and I miss them greatly every day, but it's not the same, and it's not the same. I haven't had to try to figure out who I am without them, like I've had to with my children. So, you know, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how governments group together types of loss and have that, well, loss is loss mentality. And we're going to talk about what I call the chapter, and I call it a chapter, stupid things people say. So I want to hear from you to see if there are some. I've spoken to a lot of grieving mothers, and there's a lot of similarities between what I've been said, what other people have said to me, and what other people have said to them. I think by far the worst was not to me, but to a friend of mine. Somebody said to her, "Your daughter is ancient history." Let's talk about that kind of BS. Like, who says that to people? Who says that to a grieving parent? And why would you ever say something like that to a grieving parent? Come on. Let's talk about that kind of bull crap. Trying to keep the language clean for YouTube. Sometimes it may be a little bit difficult because it's not pretty. It's not pretty. And let's not call it pretty. Child loss is not a pretty thing. Let's not put pretty labels on it. Let's not make it all like it's an easy thing to go through for the non-grievers, because you and I, we know it's ugly. It's an ugly, ugly thing. Like when people say to me, just cry. Cry. You need to let it out. No, I'm raising my grandchildren and they should not be seeing me cry. And then I hear, oh, but your grandchildren should see that you're grieving. They need to know that you're grieving the loss of their parent just like they are. Yeah, but when I cry, it's not crying. It's wailing. It's coming from my soul. It's coming from my shattered soul. It's a deep, dark, painful wail that no child should be exposed to. Adults, well, if you hear me wailing, that's on you. You can handle it, but or not. Walk away. But children live in my house. Any child should never be exposed to that. And they can't just, they live in my house with me. They can't just walk away. So no, you don't know what you're talking about. Don't say this kind of crap to me. We're going to talk about how we handle birthdays and death days, and any other special occasions. We're going to talk about hope. We're going to talk about hope. Yeah. I think in child loss, we all need hope. We all need to find some hope, because tomorrow feels like it could be as dark as today. And it doesn't have to be that way. Actually, I don't like the way I said that. It doesn't have to be that way. I guess I say that because it's not like I don't want to, and here it's talking about new verbiage. It's not a choice. Child loss is not a choice. Here we are, and we're living it. We didn't ask to be here. We're living lives we didn't choose. We're living lives that we did not prepare for. Who could prepare for this kind of life? You know, when you're a young person and you're planning for the future of your life, you didn't plan, oh, I'm going to have 3 children and 2 of them are going to die before they're 30 years old. I mean, you don't plan for that, but here we are, and there are choices within that. They are not easy choices. They are some of the most difficult choices you'll ever have to make, but they are choices, for lack of a better word. Let's create a new grieving dictionary. Thesaurus. Let's create that. Put down below in the comments the words that you don't like that are used in your grieving life. I hate angelversary. I hate, I'm sorry if I don't mean to offend you if that's a word that you use, but I personally cannot stand it. Yes, my children are angels. They are up in heaven, but they were angels to me when they were alive too. So they didn't become angels. Well, actually, my son was pretty far from being an angel, but he was my angel. But angelversary is one of the terms that I can't stand. And I, as I've said previously, that I do prefer the term death day. But add your terms below. And let's see if as a group of grieving parents that we can't come up with new terminology, and let's create a real grief revolution, we can do that. We as grieving parents, we can come together and we can create a grieving revolution. Because, you know, I actually my great-great-grandmother was a bereaved mother. She had 1 child, my great-grandfather Frank, and he was married to my great-grandmother Annie Julia, and she died in April from childbirth complications. Then 6 months later, in October, or 7 months later, whatever it is, in October of that same year, my great-grandfather Frank died from the Spanish flu. And they left behind 4 children. And Granny, who was around my age, she was in, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but my daughter died at 31, so you do the math. Granny was around my age, and she inherited my great-grandparents' 4 children because there was no one else to raise them. And there was my auntie Pep. We called her Pep. Her name was Elsie, but she was 6 years old. And my grandmother May was 4. My Uncle Frank was 2. And Uncle Bud was the baby who was born in April, so he was 6 months old when his parents died. And Granny had these 4 children that she had to raise. But this was a time of the early 1900s. And I do genealogy as my hobby. And in looking at Granny's life, because of the parallels and similarities to mine, she was also a single parent. Her husband had died 5 or 6 years before. So she was a single parent. She was a single grandparent raising her grandchildren. So a lot of parallels with mine. I am single. She lost, for 20 years, she lost a person a year, whether it be a parent, a sibling, a niece or nephew, or her own child and daughter-in-law. For 20 years, she lost someone. Talk about mourning. I just cannot imagine the amount of grieving that she was going through. But she was grieving in a time where grief was openly accepted. Somewhere along the lines, Society decided to close the door on us grievers. They don't want to see, you're allowed your mourning period, which, you know, for my great great grandmother's time was at least a year. Now we get what? A couple months, a couple weeks. Employers will only give you maybe a couple weeks if you're lucky. Legally, they only have to give you 2 days, but you know, some will give you a couple weeks. Society doesn't want to see it. Society doesn't want to hear about it. And why? Why did society decide we're done with grieving? We're done with seeing other people's pain. We're going to put it behind closed doors. And yes, we're living in, at the time of filming this video, it is 2022, and we are living in this time of toxic positivity where everything is kind of turned around and everything is okay. So, but nobody really wants to talk about it. You see on social media this all the time. You see the, oh, it's okay to not be okay. You see the, if all as you did today was breathe, you did great. If all as you did today was get out of bed, you're amazing. If you can't do a sink load of dishes, do one. If you can't clean your whole room, clean a corner. All of that is on the surface, and to those who are not going through a whole lot of hardship, sounds pretty good. But those of us who have a sink full of dishes, actually I bought a dishwasher, so that really helped. So there's a tip. And if you don't have a big space, mine is actually a countertop dishwasher. Maybe one day I'll show it to you. It's perfect. Well, it could be bigger. Honestly, it could be bigger, but it saves me a lot. So I'm washing more than one dish, because washing one dish when you have a family doesn't help anybody, and it just makes you feel like you're failing, because you can wash one fork, but you have a family of 4 and you need 4 forks, and you don't have the ability to wash 4 forks. Or all as you did today was breathe, but your house isn't clean, you weren't able to go to work, you couldn't get your kids to their extracurricular activities, your other kids needed you, but all you could do was breathe, so you weren't able to be there and be the parent that they deserve. I don't think any of that is okay. And we need to support each other up out of that, so that you are feeling like you are able to wash the entire sink load of dishes, or you are able to take your children or grandchildren, if you're a grandparent or whatever stage of life you're in, or if you actually have lost all of your children, to be a better spouse, or just a better, not better, but a more full, present, there is a good term, present, to be a present you in that moment. We need to help each other with that. We really do, because it's not okay. It's not okay that you are feeling this way. It is not okay. And we need to help each other. I needed help from people. I still need help from people. And I am having an extremely hard time finding it, because nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to see this. Nobody wants to see my grief. Nobody wants to hear my grief. They all want me to package it up really pretty, put on that mask, and come out and not talk about my children, not talk about what my life is like, because I believe it's because they're afraid. We're living every parent's worst nightmare, losing your child. What is worse for a parent than losing your child? And here I am, living proof. And I'm very sorry if you are a grieving parent, and I'm living proof that it can happen again, because I didn't lose just one child. I lost 2 in adulthood, which is a shock to me. I think it's probably the better course of valor to stay away from religion on this channel. And it, you know, if you have faith, and I'm going to be open and transparent that I'm not a believer. I believe in something. I haven't defined what it is, but I don't believe in the biblical God. From my standpoint, I totally respect yours, but mine is that I cannot believe in God. I did not believe in God before this happened to me. I cannot believe in God after this happened to me, because how can I believe in a God that took my children? And if I did believe in God, I'd be pretty darn angry with him, and that's not healthy for me. I cannot carry around that kind of anger in my life, and I would be very angry with God if I believed he existed for taking my two children and allowing me to go through, you know, what I'm going through, and ending their lives short, and putting my grandchildren through that. That's where I stand. I cannot believe, but I completely respect your beliefs, and whatever your belief system is, that is, you know, your life, and I'm completely open to what your beliefs are, but I don't think it's a good idea to have conversations about that when it involves our grief, because this is not about religion or spirituality. Well, maybe a little bit of spirituality, but not, you know, in the God version of spirituality, if that even makes any sense. Anyway, we're going to steer away from that because I don't want to divide people. And religion can divide people. It's been proven over a millennia of human existence that religion divides people, and I want us to be able to come together in our common experiences of child loss. That's what I'm really hoping for us. So what other things might we discuss in this channel? Well, as a mindfulness life coach, I'd like to bring some tips on what might help you get through the moment, what might help get you through the week. There are different things that we can do on our day-to-day, and that we might be trying to find something, how we can move out of our moment of emotional harshness. And mindfulness is a great way to do that. I'm also a therapeutic art life coach, so I might bring you guys some activities on how to use art to express your emotions, release some of that, and kind of bring you through, again, it might bring you through your day, bring you through some of your harshest feelings, so that you can be more present, so that you can participate in your life. I want all of us as grieving parents to be active participants in our life, in our own life, in the lives of the people that we love. They deserve to have us. You deserve to have you. You deserve to be an active participant in your life. And let's get there together. And the other thing that I will probably bring, and you know, you're welcome to it. You're also welcome to leave it. Whatever I put out there, take or leave, and bring it into your life try it. I guess that's all I'm going to say, is try it. And if it benefits you, amazing. If it doesn't benefit you, then we'll try something else, because there's going to be something out there for everyone. So the other thing that I will talk about in tips and tricks will be aromatherapy. I'm also a certified aromatherapist and essential oils expert. So I will be able to bring some of that here to you, and my knowledge and experience with that. And The tips and tricks will not be like a full video of tips and tricks. My plan is to kind of divide the video up into 2 or 3 parts. One will be, so basically the problem, for example, stupid things people say, how it affects your life, and a tip or trick to deal with that situation and process it and respond to it in you know, hopefully in a healthy way. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I am not been trained medically, psychologically, sociologically. I am just a grieving mom who has been educating herself and learning about what I can do to make my life better. I also have a voice. I'm not the kind of person that's going to hide behind a curtain. I'm not hiding behind a mask. If I don't like something, I say it. And I guess I'm a fixer. You know, when in the workplace you see something that's not working right, or you see a problem, I'm the type of person that identifies it and brings it to somebody's attention, and then they go, oh, and you're the person that can now fix it because you let us know about that. Great. So here I see a problem. I see a problem in our society in how grieving people are, how bereaved parents are perceived, how bereaved parents are treated, how bereaved parents are expected, the expectations of a bereaved parent. So, for anyone who knows me, I am not the same Susan that I was before Brandon died. I am not the same Susan that I was before Bethany died. That Susan is gone. And I am going through the process of trying to find out who this new Susan is. And for you, as other bereaved parents, that took me 6 years to identify that. So if you were able to identify that sooner than 6 years, amazing, congratulations, and I'm so happy for you. It did take me 6 years. If you are a parent who has not been able to identify that even after 6 years, I hope that this channel can help you kind of see that, and we can help each other move into and identify who you are now, who I am now. I'm still trying to figure that out, but I think identifying the fact that I spent so much time and energy and painfully trying to find my way back to who I was. That hurt. There was physical pain in my body, in my heart, right here, in my forehead, right here, in my soul, in my solar plexus. There was pain trying to get myself back to who I was, only to find out that that person was no longer here. That person no longer existed. I am changed forever. And that's what child loss has done to me. And that's what brought me here to create this channel, this place for me, this place for us as grieving parents. So, this is the first video of many to come, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, and I would also love it if you would hit that like button, because if you were to do that, then YouTube will identify that this is a useful place to be, and it will share my video with other bereaved parents. And that's the goal. We need to build our community. We need to build our tribe. Come together. Let's come together. And again, leave your comments below of things that you might like to see in this space. Leave comments about what verbiage you hate in your bereavement, and you can also leave comments of love and support for other bereaved parents, because that's what we're going to be about. Loving and supporting our community of bereavement. And let's not, how about that? Let's not call it a club. Let's call it a community. Let's call it a tribe, I don't know. But it is a community. It's not a club. It's a community. And let's bring it all together and find a better way to be in our lives. So that's it for this video. We'll see you on the next one. And I really hope that you have an opportunity to live your best lives, because our children didn't get to.